On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Bennett, Tim, and Mike sit down to discuss. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I have a quick sea story that happened like right before we got on the air, and it freaking sucked because I don't know if you've ever spilled half a bowl of cereal on yourself. And I mean like a Saturday morning bowl of cereal, like a deep bottom basin, you know, you're taking up half a box, the old lady's pissed at you bowl of cereal, you know, and like serious amounts of milk in there. And so I'm on the phone with Bennett and we're just chit-chatting whatever going on about the latest episode or whatever's coming up. And all of a sudden, I have no idea how or why or what the hell happened. It just, oh my God, it dumped all up in my lap, but it got like right up in the gooch. And I mean, you're talking about like half a bowl of cereal in there was just crammed right up in between the cheeks. And that is no bueno. So thank goodness I had the wife that I have, because we packed that bad boy full of paper towels and we were good. But, oh, man, it sucks so bad.
You're a fucking idiot.
Oh,
so
man.
You packed it to stem the flow.
I packed it.
It was Captain Crunch, too. But it was like, It was crunch berry, so like it doesn't cut the roof of your mouth. You know what I mean?
I do.
I like crunch berries.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I haven't had cereal in so long, but I know exactly.
I think it's fortuitous that we happened upon this line of conversation.
Oh, listen to this.
I gotta say,
big words.
I pulled that word out my ass.
Big words.
Because I also have a story about milk.
Oh, let's hear it.
And bowls of cereals.
Mm.
So I've only broken my major bones in my body a couple times. I broke my collarbone when I was a kid, and I broke my leg. And so I broke my left leg when I was in the 9th grade. I was living in South Carolina, and one day during PE, I'm out there kicking a soccer ball around. We're just screwing around. This isn't like soccer practice or a soccer game where everybody's got shin guards. This is just like PE, right? And so anyway, we're out there jacking around with the ball, and me and this other guy were going at it, trying to get it, and we crossed legs, and I heard a snap, and I thought, oh.
Dude, that's not cool.
Yeah, my first thought was, oh, that sucks for him. And then I took a step, and I fell down, and then I realized,
nope, sucks for
that sucks for me.
Little Tim Parkhurst was flailing around out on the playground.
Yes, I cried, and
hell yeah,
it hurt really bad. But it was right in the middle of my left shin was snapped in half, and so anyway, bottom line is I ended up getting casted, and this cast encompassed my whole foot and came all the way up my leg to about mid-thigh.
I already see where this is going.
So I had this full leg cast. And this was during a time when, my mom and dad had just split up, and I would go on the weekends and visit my mom in, a couple towns over, and she had this little apartment. Anyway, I'm there one weekend, and I get up in the morning, and so I'm going to eat breakfast, and I get me a bowl of cereal, and I sit down.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you could see it coming, right? So she's in the kitchen. I'm sitting at the table. She says something. I turn around to look at her, and I don't know, my elbow or something bumps the bowl, and I had just filled it up. So it was all there, right? And it was kind of like, Mike, it's like a big freaking like deep bowl. This isn't just some little, I like my cereal with a lot of milk, right?
Right.
And it was swimming. And so this bowl just dumps right into my lap, right over the top of cast, and every bit of that milk and cereal went down into my cast.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
what?
Oh God!
This is so gross though, because I'm salivating like. Like I just saw somebody puke, dude.
Bennett's like, oh, it's gonna smell so bad.
It's not only that, it's June, right?
Oh my God.
And
that's good.
To get recasted, you got to set an appointment, right? And what always happens when you need to set an appointment? They put you 2 or 3 weeks out, right?
Oh no.
So I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I'm wanting to say it was like probably a week or two, I guess, before I was able to get into the doctor.
Gross, dude.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty. It stunk so bad.
Yours is better than mine, dude.
God, I'm drooling like Pavlov's dog right now. Not because I'm like salivating because I'm like hungry, but because it's.
No, you want to look it up.
You're gonna heave a little bit. Yeah.
Man. God damn it! I'm so like as I've gotten older, I don't know how this is possible, but as I've gotten older and more domesticated, I guess you could say, my stomach is a lot weaker when it comes to gross ass shit like that. Like, you remember, we used to just smell and see just heinous shit, and it didn't even faze me, right?
Right.
And I'm not trying to get like nasty or graphic about it, but everything from like shit to decomp to all that stuff. Yeah. Like, we all know those distinct smells, right?
Yeah.
But fuck, dude, it's the simple things like that, like rotten milk or things like that just give me the fucking willies, man. I don't. People just have their things. Right. I think maybe it's because my milk story, I have two. So I guess this episode's about milk. So,
man.
So I have two. One, but they're both quick. So one of them is, like basically drinking that rotten milk carton out of the fucking fridge.
Oh God, I've done that.
It's
a shock.
That's bad.
Right. So I think that's why I have the affliction.
And it's always out of a carton.
Yes, it was out of the carton. So I think
because you can't see it.
Right. It's like cottage cheese in there. Oh, I remember the feeling on my tongue.
So that's why I have the affliction with the milk. All right. So the actual story, though.
Now I'm getting these.
Yeah. So the story is my parents. Everyone knows what a White Russian is, right?
Yeah. You make a mean Caucasian, Jackie.
Right. So my parents used to have it. They'd make it in a fucking milk jug.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But they had like the labels clear on the milk jug, right?
Oh, so that's awesome.
So there was a designated milk jug for White Russians. Well,
that makes sense if you're drunk.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like they had parties and stuff. So it wasn't all the time, but it was once in a while,
Right. You're gonna do some White Russians.
Little Bennett on a Sunday morning, it was probably 8 or 9. 8. It had to have been 8. And I come downstairs to get ready to watch. Actually, it was Saturday morning, sorry. Because where I grew up in Illinois, there was every Saturday morning they had the Farm Report on TV before the cartoons kicked in. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was the Ag Report was on for like a half hour from 6:30 to 7 because the cartoons would kick off at 7. Okay. And the first cartoon was Super Friends, which was at that time, this is like 1983. Okay.
Wonder Twin Powers activate.
Correct.
Form of water.
Oh my God. I can picture you guys like cross-legged on the carpet. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. And that's exactly how I sat and ate cereal every morning.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It was literally like take a picture from like the Cable Guy,
right?
The movie where he's sitting in front of the electronic baby.
No. For me, it's Pulp Fiction. But continue.
Or that too.
That's what I got. Butch, I kept this uncomfortable piece of metal in my ass. Yeah. Right. Sorry. Terrible walking. What were you saying?
All right. So I come downstairs to fix my weekly bowl of cereal because my parents slept in on Saturdays. Well, I grabbed the freaking milk. I cover the cereal. I take and I can't remember what kind of cereal, but I really liked honeycomb.
Oh yeah.
So it was probably either honeycomb or corn pops, one or the other.
Because honeycomb's got the big bites.
Right.
And you ever mix those bad boys together? You will not regret it. I will tell you that much.
So I sit down and but the milk tastes weird. But I'm like, fuck it. So I just ate it all anyway. I ate the whole bowl.
Oh no.
So later, probably after the Super Friends is over, I'm feeling weird.
Oh yeah.
And I remember I laid down on the couch and fell asleep, right? And so my parents came downstairs later and they like woke me up and they're like, what are you, this is like an hour later. And I was like, yeah, I feel really weird. And they're like, what did you eat? And I go, cereal. And then I see, I go, but the milk tasted weird. And I saw my dad's face. He's like, and he went in So I definitely ate my freaking bowl of cereal with White Russian.
Oh my God, that's
And it was
fantastic.
probably a full, so this is like an 8-year-old with a full glass. I mean, like, it would have been the equivalent of like a whiskey, like a rocks glass
Right.
full of White Russian.
Like the
And
dude.
White Russians are like vodka with like a splash of milk. Like, there's not much going on. So I probably had the equivalent of like two or three shots of fucking vodka as an 8-year-old.
And so began the struggles with alcohol.
Started young, folks.
I just love that your parents are trendsetters. They were digging the White Russians way before the dude was around. So
Maybe that's why I have an affinity for White Russians, because it literally was my first alcoholic experience.
right.
That's funny.
And I really dig White Russians. I do. I don't drink them that much, but I really like them.
Right.
So
I don't know if I've ever even had one. I mean, I know what one is. I just don't think I've ever had one.
The weird thing is when Bennett does have them, he always adds cereal now.
right.
So that's always like, why does your White Russian?
I use Trix as a garnish.
Right.
And then it gets all
Oh my
little,
gosh.
and I let it sit for a second, and it gets all those cool little psychedelic colors drizzling down into the Kahlua layer and the freaking. Man.
And that's how he gets the kids to sleep.
Yeah, it's such a simple drink too, but it's pretty good. But you can't drink a lot of it because you'll get sick, dude.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I like them more on the vodka heavy side, because I think like the vodka heavy side. But I also use, instead of milk, I use heavy cream, which makes it taste even better. But
see, I was always the half
living
guy.
and being from Illinois, I also had this affinity for farm fresh milk, which is hard to find because technically it's illegal most places.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
But if
It's another example of government intrusion in our lives.
It's
But
like
if you use
unpasteurized teas.
right, but if you use that, that's the best freaking White Russian. Oh my God. Yeah, man.
The
Just
rug
saying.
really pulled the room together, did it not?
Did it not?
Speaking of putting the kids to bed, so that reminds me. We're kind of going back to childhood here,
Right.
But,
Hold on, real quick. I need to do a. Yeah, all right. Solid. If you guys have not already done so, subscribe, rate, review the podcast. Do it right now. iTunes or Android. We've got like a bunch of aggregators. It's everywhere. God bless America, no one else. Tim, what were you saying about your awesome childhood?
well, just that it was probably no more or less awesome than yours, but maybe a little more than yours because you're so young. Maybe more akin to Bennett's because he's a little older, but. Because the 70s were the shit. And, if you grew up in the 70s, you saw some crazy things happen. And so that story reminded me of once when I was a kid. My dad flew for Trans World Airlines, which most kids don't know what that is anymore because they went bankrupt. But TWA used to be one of the premier airlines on the planet. Yeah. And anyway, because he was an employee, I could fly for free. But it was space available, and I had to put on my little suit and tie and all that, as a 10-year-old to get on the plane. So anyhow, I'm on a trip. We're taking a vacation with Dad, and we're all scattered around the airplane because when you're flying Space A, you take whatever seat you can get, right? So I'm not with my mom and my brother and my sister or anything like that. I'm just like sitting next to some strange lady.
Yes,
and
a single serving friend.
Yes, well, I'm 10, dude. All right, so
right.
Strange lady has a child of her own in her lap, right?
Dope.
And of course, we get the altitude and the pressure in the ears and the baby's screaming. So the flight attendants are walking the aisle, offering refreshments, right? And so the lady buys herself a couple of the little bottles of liquor.
Nice.
And I think, oh, she's going to have a drink. Okay, whatever. And then she pulls out baby's bottle.
Oh, no, dude. Wow. What a different generation, man.
She has one of these little short bottles, the little 4-inch high ones.
I wonder we're so fucked up.
Dude, she poured 2 whole bottles of the little vodka bottles into that and gave it to the baby. Plugged that in, and 2 minutes later, that baby was.
Shit like that was so. That's like what you did. I remember seeing like
they didn't know
like in parenting magazines or whatever. I remember seeing like dip your baby's pacifier in freaking like whiskey or all kinds
dip
of shit.
it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I get dip it in,
Yeah.
like, oh, just rub a little on the gums and stuff
Right.
like that. Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm still
right.
cool with that. If my wife was like, hey, man, we're just going to rub a little on the gums, whatever. I still don't give a shit. 2 of those little 4-inch bottles went into an infant.
Rocked out like 2 ounces of freaking
Big-
vodka in the
like-
baby's bullet.
Like, if you shrink
dude,
a
so-
fifth down.
Is that breast milk you're mixing that with?
Oh
or
my
formula?
God.
Well,
Right,
keep in mind,
exactly.
in the mid 70s, I don't think there was any such thing as labeling. Right.
No,
So it
absolutely.
took another decade or so, probably, I guess, for labeling to kick in and for all of America to really become dumbed down enough.
Well, here's the other
listen.
thing.
Uncle Sam tells us to do all the time.
Do you remember, Tim? Everyone smoked everywhere.
Oh yeah, on the airplane.
Yeah, on the airplane. I remember
Except in the
people
lavatory.
walking.
You're
I
not
remember
allowed to do
people
that in the
walking
lavatory.
through the grocery store smoking. People
Yeah.
walked through the mall or like Walmart smoking.
Yeah, the employees at McDonald's were smoking in the kitchen in the back.
Everywhere. Everybody smoked everywhere.
I
dude.
totally
That's-
agree. My childhood sucked.
It's because you lived in Pottsville.
Plain, or yeah.
That's what you get for growing up in the 90s.
Pleasantville.
From It's a Wonderful Life, but it wasn't so pleasant.
I just remember everybody having shoulder pads, not smoking everywhere. But then
I
again,
just, as I've been to your hometown,
right?
toured it, I can look back and know that there's definitely the Illuminati is there. That was one of the, they used to meet there. I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
Know it for sure.
Oh my God.
I don't want this episode to go down that road, but I'm telling you, for sure, there was some Illuminati shit going on.
That's
some New
so
World
good.
Order stuff going on there.
So tell us, Bennett, what do you know about the Illuminati?
No.
And speak slowly to the microphone.
No.
Well,
The NSA already listens to every
no,
episode.
they already know. They already but we're not going down. I'm not turning this into InfoWars.
Oh, dude.
So it's not going to happen.
So-
we're not going down the Alex Jones road.
So back during my drinking days, I was staying with one of my buddies just outside of base, and it was one of those mornings where it was like,
Now, is this East Coast Michael
East
Penny
Coast.
or West Coast Michael Penny?
this is the East Coast. This is like right after the old lady left, and I just went off the deep end and fucked everything, and
Yeah, you went on a bender.
a total bender,
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
Which kind of warranted, but I was still I was hitting good marks at work. Anyway, so
We've all gone there.
oh yeah, for sure. So I'm like, I'm hungover as fuck at this point, and I mean, Jesus, this must be 8 years ago, something like that. But so I'm just hungover as fuck. I'm like, oh my God, and it's one of those where like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna go back down there, maybe drink some of the mix, whatever. And by that, I just mean we had like cranberry juice. Like, you know how you're out in the field and you get Lorna Dunes and then you get that shitty juice, that like sugar water that's in the little cartons? We had that.
Yeah, like juicy juice.
Right. So we had that in a carton in there. We were mixing it with vodka, like Pop Off Red Label.
That's some Snoop Dogg shit.
But
Gin
dude,
and juice,
playing
baby.
beer pong against one another with it, okay? We did not fuck around, all right? I will tell you that much right now. So I'm like, I'm going to go have some of that juice. And I'm it's kind of like the hair of the dog that bit you,
Hair of the
whatever.
dog, right?
And so I'm just like, whatever, green USMC sweats, tampon string hanging out, like just, fuck. I like open the carton, eyes half shut. I just started drinking. And I just like spit cottage cheese out of my mouth, and I look, and it was expired like 3 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
This milk. Dude, it was, when I smelled it, it was sour. And I just stood there and just puked all over my buddy's dirty dishes. Just puked everywhere.
I just
like,
puked in my mouth.
like crumbled down onto my ass. It was like, milk was a bad choice. And then I like laid on the linoleum. Just laid there until somebody woke up. I didn't even try washing my mouth out. Just puke everywhere.
Oh my God, that's
All
horrible.
hungover. I'm like, oh, this is so bad. Yeah. And then my girlfriend got up and
Dude, if we're gonna continue this recording, we're
Transition.
oh my
to something,
God.
anything.
Oh, it was bad.
So good milk stories, though.
Yeah.
So I have a good milk story.
Are there such things?
There is. I spent until age All right. So from my birth until age 13, I lived in Illinois. Okay. And but we had friends that lived in Wisconsin who we went and visited like at least once a summer for, I don't know, man, feels like forever, years, right? Well, they owned a dairy farm.
And I bet they fed you cheese when you visited.
Oh yeah, no, they fed me all kinds. No, they put me to fucking work. That's what they did. So we would literally go and stay like for a month, and I never asked why we would stay so long, but we just would. So, but I remember waking up and at like 0 dark 30, and almost every day was the same. It was kind of a pristine life, right, on the dairy farm. So, and this was all the kids. They had 5 kids, 3 sons and 2 daughters. And so all the boys, the girls would do it too, but the girls, their job was to go find eggs. So, because they had chickens everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So the girls would go find the eggs. The boys and me would go and we would hook up the cows. We would sanitize the udders and put the milking machines on. And then we would pump the milk out and whatnot into this big, gigantic vat. It was huge, man. In this room that was like sterile beyond sterile, right? Mm-hmm. Like you could literally eat off of anything in there. But they had like a spout that they would, so when we were done, and it usually took about an hour and a half, 2 hours to milk the cows, because they didn't have a ton, but they had, a decent amount.
Right.
And then we'd clean up and send the cows back out. The girls would already have been inside. And then what we would do is the one boy, he was my age, a little bit older. And for some reason, I barely remember their names. I can remember their faces. But that's what happens when you get old and bump your head a lot. But
that's what happens when you start drinking White Russians at the age of 10.
Yeah, it's true. So he would siphon off fresh milk into like this pitcher and take it inside every morning. And so you'd walk in and it was bacon, eggs, and there was usually fruit of some sort, some toast, and fresh freaking milk, dude, every morning.
Raw milk.
Raw milk. And I can tell you, those boys were gigantic.
Right.
They were like some healthy freaking kids. And then
that's a good breakfast, man.
Right. And then they would go out and we would work on the farm again, either separating, pastures or moving, cows from one pasture to another. Because this was grass-fed. This was like, grass-fed cows before that shit was popular. It's just the way it's supposed to be, right? Because they didn't have feed. They didn't do any of this stuff. It was all... Now that I look back, I go, well, no shit, So it just makes a lot of sense. So they did pasture rotation, and they would all the stuff that's back in vogue now,
Right.
Yeah.
Just the right way to eat. Well, then, so we would do all that. Then we would come eat lunch, and then every day you'd see one of the boys outside spraying down the front yard with a hose, right? Watering down the front yard. And I remember the first day that I was there, that I can remember, going, well, what the heck's he doing out there? And then we came back, and I asked, and he said, well, he's wetting down the front yard so we can catch worms. And so in the evening then in the evening, once the sun started going down, we'd go out with our flashlights and we'd pull worms out of the front yard, and we don't even need to catch about a dozen or so, right? Because they're like night crawlers.
Yeah.
And then we would get in the freaking truck. None of the kids were old enough to drive, by any stretch of imagination, but this is what happened. So there's like a 12-year-old driving or 13-year-old driving the truck down to the creek across the field.
Right.
Probably like 3 miles away. And then we would all jump out. All the kids, no parents, no adult supervision.
None needed.
We'd go down the bank of this freaking creek and we would catch bullheads, which, right? We'd catch a bucket of bullheads, bring them back. And they had one of those, the big livestock, like watering pen things, the big galvanized steel things that you with water, and
the big 8-foot long ones,
right? And we would just dump the fish in there, and then for dinner, almost every night, along with usually steak or something, there was also fish. It was bullhead. So literally, the mom would go out every night, like every evening before she cooked, and would catch like she would take a net and like scoop like 3 or 4 bullheads out of the freaking trough, and she, you know what I mean? It was crazy. And so they had huge gardens. It
sounds so
it was
idyllic.
very idyllic, like straight up American Gothic, like that pitchfork. You know what I mean? That guy and that lady,
like Norman Rockwell.
Yeah, Norman Rockwell, freaking that painting, and it was that was America, man. You know what I mean? America. That was my childhood to an extent. You know, and my grandmother owned a farm. I grew up basically from that time, and then I moved to Connecticut, and shit went to hell. But, you know, and even then it was a little idyllic because it's New England. You know what I mean? And if you've never been to Connecticut, drive through the Connecticut countryside. It's not like Long Island or what a lot of people would envision. It's freaking gorgeous. It's another Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah. So
it's good motorcycle
ride.
This
yesterday. Yeah. Ben and I were just talking about this yesterday. He and I both grew up in Connecticut for a while. I only lived there for like 5 years, but for me, that's like one of the longest periods of time that I've ever lived anywhere.
I did too. That was the same. I mean, but I used to come back there after I joined the Corps, but you know.
So I lived there from like first through fifth grade, and so that's kind of where I came of age. You know, where I was young enough when I got there that I don't remember a lot about when I first moved there. Kind of transitioned to where I was old enough to where I remember a lot of stuff. You know, and we had a house there in Madison, Connecticut, right on the seashore, and we would go and you know, go down to the beach a lot. It's a lot different than the beach here in North Carolina, gotta say. But yeah, I mean, that whole sort of New England idyllic countryside kind of thing. I mean, people think of Connecticut now and they think, well, it's like a suburb of New York City, and it kind of is in a lot of ways, you know. But it's still, when you drive down the road in a lot of these little towns and stuff, it's like, even though the population is so dense, for some reason, it still seems like you're just out in the country. You know?
Well, it's that I-95 corridor that's all built up, right?
Yeah. Well, Madison is right on that corridor, but it's still just a tiny little.
Well, the farther east you go, the less amount of people there are, obviously, until you smack into Boston or Providence, really. You know what I mean? Yeah. Rhode Island. But from basically New York City to New Haven, it's like an iron jungle now. But as soon as you get
all of that shit.
As soon as you get off
I fucking hate that area.
As soon as you get off of I-95 and go north, you're into the woods again. So it's literally like a mile or two off.
Like literally any time that I go home to my in-laws, I drive through Pennsylvania to upstate and then over from there. And I skip all that fucking nonsense.
Well, you don't have to go through. Yeah, exactly. If you can skip it, you should. But that's where I live. It's in that I lived in Fairfield, Connecticut, and then basically we were the poorest family in the whole freaking town, but my mom lived there so I could get a good high school education. And you see how that fucking turned out. But anyway,
did you a lot of good, huh?
You know what I mean? But it was safe, and I never got into trouble and that whole shit. You know, I mean, it was good. I can't, you know, and I thank my mom for doing that. You know,
I'm just picturing you in like Vineyard Vines, you know, and some like off-brand boat shoes.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
that's you. That's sexy.
Yeah, possibly. I didn't quite no, actually I wasn't in off-brand shoes. Like I wore Bass shoes.
Oh yeah, that's my jam.
And you know what I'm saying? So there was some whatever. I mean, my mom did. See, and this is pretty crazy. So this is in the 90s. My mom was making pretty good money, and we were still just like paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's expensive to live out there.
Because we're where we lived at night. I remember, so this is like 80, 89, 90, when I really started taking an actual, you know, it's like my sophomore year in high school. And I'm like, I actually understand finances at that point. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I asked my mom one day, I'm like, so how much do we pay for rent, you know, where we live? And this is in 90, you know, 89, 90. And we were paying $950 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? Now that apartment is probably closer to $2,000, if not more in that area.
But back then,
So
it's
I
crazy.
Had a killer fucking view, man. Though that was one of the things. Like we never moved because the view was so awesome. We literally go out. No, I shit you not, because we were kind of like up on a hill, and we go back. If you walked out on the back deck at night, now Bridgeport, Connecticut's kind of a dump, or at least it was then. I guess there's been some kind of revival or something there, but at that point it was kind of a dump. So during the day it didn't look so great, but at night it's a city, so you had all the lights, and beyond that was the Long Island Sound, and we could see all that. Was the view that we had. So at night, dude, I would literally sit out there and just stare, because it was just those lights and the water, and on a really clear night you could see all the way over to Long Island. So like you could see like the Port Jefferson, you could see like the Port Jefferson area and all that, dude. It was pretty cool. But of course, it's one of those, I had the most idyllic kind of vision of it, but actually life was pretty good. So I had a pretty decent childhood for the most part. My childhood is really good or really bad. You know what I mean? There wasn't there wasn't a lot of middle ground, with like my father going to jail and things like that, which I haven't really gone into on this show before, but either way, so, that all that shit kind of happened, and,
Right.
But either way, dude, good memories of, the dairy farm, since that's kind of where this episode went. Yeah, man.
Oh, dude, check this out.
I enjoyed growing up in Connecticut, man. It was, we didn't live on a farm or anything like that.
Right.
We sort of in just a regular normal neighborhood, but everything around us was so spread out. There were farms just down the road, and especially in the fall, you'd have the county fairs and all that, and you'd have all the apple farms, apple orchards and everything.
Yeah.
And you go pick your own, and they'd have the apple presses going, pressing cider and making apple sauce and apple butter and
apple fritters and all that shit. Yeah, man. One of my favorite places in the world is Mystic. At the Seaport, the Seaport and the aquarium and all that. And good, actually, a guy that I was in the Army with, and I want to have him on the show. We just haven't been able to work it out. He actually works. All right, so he's an U.S. Army infantryman, but now he works at Mystic Seaport, rebuilding old ships. So they have like the Mayflower 2 there, and the Amistad and boats like that they redo, and then they sail them again. So talk about cigars and sea stories.
Yeah, there you go.
It'd be a pretty cool dude to have on and talk about the actually recreating the old school, 16th, 17th, or I should say 17th, 18th century shipping vessels and whatnot. So it's pretty boss, right?
Yep.
I mean, I have pictures of this guy up on like in the crow's nest on the Amistad, and it's pretty cool. So we need to have that dude on.
Well, they got that whaling ship too. That's the last existing actual whaling vessel in America.
I don't remember what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but
so
it's
if you've never
cool.
been to Mystic, it's pretty awesome. And I'm going to put a quick plug in real quick for my buddy Justin Nash, who we're going to have on the show here very soon. He is on Veterans Day at the Mohegan Sun there in, God, how do you even say the name of that place? Either way, just type in the Mohegan Sun into the Google machine and look up Vets Rocks or Vets Rock. It's an event that this is the second year he's done it. And there's a veteran expo, and
it's pronounced
Uncasville, which is I think that's I don't remember which tribe exactly. I know the Foxwoods is Pequot, but I guess maybe it's the Mohegan tribe. I'm not sure, but I don't sound ignorant, but I do. So anyway,
Uncas was a character in The Last of the Mohicans.
Right. So it's the actual Mohegan tribe at the Mohegan Sun, which would make complete sense, right?
Yep.
All right. So anyway, so we have this event on veterans. It's actually the whole week kind of, but the big event is Friday, November 11th. Come out, buy tickets, come see the concert. It's going to be awesome. He hasn't announced the lineup yet, so I'm not going to. But
it's awesome.
But it's awesome. I will be there for sure. I will be there for sure with Warrior Hall at the expo. So come out and say hi, man. and it should be a blast. Lots of good music, lots of good vets everywhere. Should be awesome.
So it's right off the 395, due north of New London, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Right on the Thames River.
And if you take a right instead of a left, you'll smack into Groton sub base.
Yay! Don't go there. You will be stopped.
Exactly. It's just a cool area. It's a really cool area, though. So
I got a good milk story to wrap it up.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
No more puking milk.
Nope, no more
Are
puking.
you going to puke?
No.
All right.
So, 2011, we wound up going to Kajaki. In Kajaki, well, this made me puke. In Kajaki, they gave us bad peaches, which was just awful. And there was no way to store milk, but we were kind of like fiending for it. This is something that my buddy, my fellow sergeant, I'll just call him Pablo, he and I were roommates, and that was something that he would bring up. He's like, you know what I could really go for? A cold glass of milk. And I always just thought that he was like fucking with me or whatever. And so we got into Leatherneck, at the end of the tour, and this is something that I completely forgot about. And he comes back with a big, huge shit-eating grin on his face and 3 glasses of milk and sits down, right, with his tray. And he's got like 2 packets of Oreos or whatever, because it was Leatherneck. Leatherneck was pretty hooked up, so if you ever go through there. But yeah, dude, we sat there and dunked Oreos in cold glasses of milk for the first time in 7 months, being in a hole in the ground essentially, and dodging bombs and bullets and shit. And it was just so epic. And it was whole milk in the bag with the little white stem thing, whatever, because it's like an Air Force chow hall, so it's all hooked up. And it was
the big 5-gallon bladder.
Yeah. And it was just one of the greatest things in the world. Because you know how it is. When you're downrange, you don't think about it. But who knows? Maybe you get blown up. You get hit by a freaking bus tomorrow. It doesn't fucking matter. But, you're downrange and you don't have any of the creature comforts. And just an ice cold glass of milk can be really badass sometimes. Especially with a soggy Oreo. Double stuffed is my preference.
Double.
Oh, yeah.
Double stuffed.
In case you're looking for gifts to send into the show. No big whoop. So... anyway,
have you seen the new thin Oreos?
Yes, I have.
That's the biggest scam in the whole freaking world. They took Oreos and they took material out of the Oreo and they charge you just as much as a regular Oreo.
Of course they do.
They'll go away,
dude.
Capitalism, baby.
You're paying just as much for less Oreo.
I'll tell you what I can't.
How stupid is that?
Yeah,
that's stupid.
Yeah, fuck that.
I don't like.
I'm the double stuff guy. I'm a double stuff fan, so much so that I do the.
Yeah, you definitely are double stuff.
Oh, dude, you've seen it, and so
you like it double stuff.
You get it in
anyway.
There. And so I'll crack off one side, right, of the cookie. And then that goes in the mouth, and then crack off the other side of another cookie. That goes in the mouth, and then kabam! Quadruple stuffed. Dunk it.
That's it. That's what I do.
Dunk it. Yes.
You and I have so much in common, man.
We're kindred spirits. See, that's why you and I could go hunting or like in a hide or something like that, but we'd probably get compromised because we'd be eating all the goodies and like firing up the jet boil.
The double stuffs.
We'd be eating the quadra stuffs. Because remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, right? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
I love that movie. So
I didn't like it much because I was too old to enjoy it.
I feel you. I feel you. But in that movie, they come across an Oreo that was out in the yard, and it's like a wall of Oreo filling, and oh my God, that would just be, yes, I want that in my mouth. So when I was a kid, I saw that you could get like whipped up Oreo filling with the cookie crumble or whatever. Like you can get that at the deli counter in some places. And so you can get that in Meijer, and you can also get the dirt worm stuff that's got essentially crumbled Oreo cookies, that cream, and then they put in gummy worms. Like that's a thing that you can buy. So
okay.
I don't know if you're stoned right now in Michigan, but you should probably go to Meijer's and get some crumble. That and a big, huge glass of milk would be awesome. So this episode sponsored by milk. Nah, I'm fucking with you. We didn't get sponsored by milk.
Wrap it up.
We were sponsored by veteranslist.us. If you have not already done so, check out veteranslist.us anytime you go to shop. Plain and simple. Shop veteran. Veteranslist.us. Do it. If you want to get a feature membership on there and you yourself are a vetrepreneur, you want to go on there and you want to get your business featured, it is 50% off. Half off if you use discount code Cigars and Sea. Check it out right now. We've got a landing page, cigarsandseastories.com/veterans list. Again, that's cigarsandseastories.com/veterans list. Just simply click on it. You'll see the promo code. Bam, featured membership. Half off. Type in promo code Cigars and Sea Stories. Or excuse me, Cigars and Sea. Folks, thank you so much for listening. Subscribe, rate, review the podcast. You can find it all over the website. We've also added a search bar on there. Thank you so much for the feedback coming in. Our good buddies over at Spartan Media have done that for us. You will be hearing their commercials or whatever you want to call them coming up here pretty soon. Spartan Media does awesome work. They're a fellow Marine Corps infantryman, veteran, owned and operated design studio that does great work. And they're the guys who make us look good. So thanks, Jeremy. Much obliged. Semper Fi. Rah. Folks, thanks so much for listening. Bennett, Tim, I love you guys.
Pleasure as always.
Love you, man.
God bless America and no one else. Semper Fidelis, always.
America.
Out. And on that note, we cue the music.
We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. Setting sun.